And that's it. That's a wrap for Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, the Entertainment District arc. That was a not quite a 45-minute episode, but that's how it works because, ads in Japan. So that technically takes a little bit out. That's just like whenever we have an hour-long episode, it's typically 45 because 15 minutes was to ads. But at any rate, I thought on it for a little bit, but I think I'm a little bit disappointed in this episode. I think the whole thing behind Yatoro and Daki's backstory was emotional as ever. I really did like that scene where Tanjiro comes up and stops him from saying anything else. The finish up of that was really great. It's just everything outside of that was just kind of typical shonen fare of, oh, well, magic and everybody kind of is happy. Not that, again, that I wanted Tengen to die. I'm actually really excited that Tengen lived through this whole situation because, again, that breaks that mold of every time a Hashira shows up and meets Tanjiro, they have to die because Tanjiro didn't help them. And it was nice. I'm glad that one of my theories became true, that he's just going to retire. He's like, I'm just done. Now, I really do think that Tengen will come up again later. I don't once a warrior, always a warrior. I'm sure that later on when things start getting crazy, I'm sure we'll have an appearance of Tengen just jumping in there and getting into the fight, despite the fact that he's technically retiring. But yeah, opening up the episode, again, we have magical Nezuko. That was really cool, though. She kind of bops out of there and just kind of disintegrates all the blood just to get rid of it. And again, despite my initial thought that we were going to have Shinobu show up, instead, we actually have, again, Nezuko just going around and super blood healing everybody by setting their blood on fire and getting rid of the poison. But it was cool because it was that aspect of finally Nezuko gets to do something. We got a really cool fight scene with Nezuko, but other than that, she's just kind of chilling, despite the fact, again, in that dream, she specifically says, you know me, you know what I want. She wants to fight, and she's not being allowed to fight. But yeah, sadly, Zenitsu woke up. Zenitsu finally woke up. We had a nice, 6 episodes of not Zenitsu screaming, and suddenly out of nowhere he's awake, and I'm like, oh gosh, there's that scream again. Ugh. I really do wonder if he's annoying in Japan too. I know he's a very, very famous seiyuu. Don't get me wrong, and I do love his work, but Zenitsu specifically is just really annoying. He's probably really funny in the manga because you don't actually hear him piercing your ears, but because he's portrayed in an anime where somebody has to voice him, suddenly that pitch shoots up. I doubt in the manga it says, his pitch really loud said, Tanjiro! Just a really eccentric face yelling Tanjiro. But anyways, that aside, yes, he's saying that obviously Inosuke is not doing well. They go over there and Nezuko once again lays hands on him and removes his poison, and they're all happy, so that's great. But it was funny because we have the new Uber brand coming out, which is Nezuko Uber or something. Uberco? I don't know. We gotta name it something, but yeah, just kind of Nezuko trucking Tanjiro everywhere. Eventually goes to Tengen, which that was a really cute scene because obviously all the girls are upset. They think they're going to lose Tengen. And he's really badly wanting to give them his final words, I'm going to die. I have to say something. And they're just starting to fight because obviously Suma's just going crazy and Makio's trying to shove dirt in her mouth. And he's just sitting over there I'm not going to get to say anything. And then, yeah, sure enough, Nezuko shows up, sets him on fire. Everybody freaks out thinking that she's cremating him on the spot. No, he's removing the poison. So that was cute. We did get one little final scene with Tengen right after this, in which he essentially is talking to Obanai, which I don't even remember Obanai at all. I knew he was in the meeting. I just don't remember at all. It's a completely forgettable character. But yeah, obviously he was apparently, again, reminding us, one of the ones that really hated Tanjiro, wanted him dead. And now you have Tengen saying, I'm retiring. He's like, you can't. We're losing too many Hashiras. We need you. And he's like, no, he wasn't really, he didn't say, we need you. He was really talking down to Tengen, you got this beat up by a lower 6 or an upper 6, a lowly upper 6. And he's like, we need you. And we're running out of people. And Tengen's like, no, look, you have Tanjiro, you have Nezuko, you have Inosuke, you have, yes, Sensu. These kids are rising up. We have this new generation that's coming around because obviously, and he's like, well, wait, they survived? He's like, yeah, these are our next generation, which is echoed by Kaguya, who is really excited that this group of kids survive, that they things are turning for him. It does specifically have Kaguya say something very interesting, though. And we haven't really gotten too much into Kaguya. We know that he's obviously inflicted by something. Things aren't going well with him. But he specifically mentions the idea that the tables are turning, and Muzen's, we have something to fight against Muzen. And he specifically says, for hundreds of years, nothing has changed. Now it is. They have the people to defeat Muzen, the sole blemish of my family. Kind of indicating this idea that they're related. Like, I don't know if they mentioned anything like this before. Maybe somebody can correct me, but it's essentially indicating that they're related. Not that it really matters. Not that it's like a crazy reveal, but it's still interesting. Maybe he could. I mean, I'm assuming Muzen's been around for a long time. So, depending on if Kaguya has some ability to live for a long time, that means that maybe he's a distant relative or something like that, or maybe a grandfather or something like that. But definitely interesting. It's obviously indicating that they've been fighting something for a long time. He's now saying for hundreds of years nothing has changed, and now he has something that can beat Muzen. So it kind of indicates that Muzen's been around for a long time, and Kaguya has been in these generations of fighting against him, and now finally he can do it. He can finally defeat him, hopefully before he dies, because he's not looking good. Yeah, the only other thing outside of the main backstory stuff was obviously, I totally thought Akaza was going to end up showing up. Like, the moment he popped up on the screen, I'm like, here we go. I called it. Akaza comes in at the last minute and cleans up. He's the cleaner. No, he's being summoned to the crazy multi-dimension place to meet Muzen, which he claims we only get summoned here when somebody is killed. So I'm sure maybe we'll have an OVA or something. We kind of had an OVA after the last season, I believe, that showed us that meeting. So maybe they're going to do that again, or again, maybe we'll just wait for the next season, because yes, we have another season announced, which I'll get into. But yeah, obviously my favorite part of this episode is Tanjiro running around with Nezuko until they eventually find the two heads. They're obviously decaying, and they're arguing. Arguing that it's all your fault. No, it's all your fault. You're too weak. No, you're too this. And then eventually it gets to this point where Daki's like, I hate you. You're ugly. You've always been ugly. I don't want to have anything to do with you. And returning that, Gyataro's like, look, you're the reason that this all happened. I hate you. And then that's, like I said, I knew it was going to happen. Tanjiro goes up there and just stops him. Like, just stop. You guys this is not how you want things to end. This is something you don't really mean this. And that gets really into the backstory stuff. It starts jumping into Gyataro's memories of their time together. This whole situation where they lived in this very, very poor side of the entertainment district arc. And this is one of those entertainment district. And this is one of those moments where it's like this is what this writer's kind of good at, is that not that they're really crazy stories or anything, but they're very relatable stories that you can really feel. Not relatable, but obviously I don't live in an entertainment district. But just you understand them. And that's really all it is. You just understand them. They're really terrible situations, but you understand them. I mean, that's like the whole drummer guy and the whole story about his music and everything. It's an understandable story, and it makes you feel for the characters. It's a very simple story. And again, it's one of those cases where it's like, don't blame them. Like, you don't blame them in the situation. And that's what's really cool. It's just a really terrible situation they were in. Gyataro born, ugly, everybody hates him. His mother tries to kill him on a regular basis. And then eventually everything finally changes when Daki is born, or Ume. When Daki's finally born, he gets this boost of self-confidence, and he's able to become a collector. And he goes around and he collects debts. And at the same time, he apparently has been teaching Daki this idea of collecting and everything. And this turns to her eventually one day stabbing a samurai in the eye to collect, which was something he regrets doing because that samurai kills her. And then this pit of rage, he ends up killing the samurai and this other lady. This one demon comes up and offers him to become a demon, which I don't think I've ever seen this demon before. It's very, very unique looking demon, but it claims the same thing. Muzen might make you into a demon, take my blood. Hopefully, eventually, you can rise up in the ranks like I did. And yeah, this turns into Gyataro and Daki becoming demons. And they had like a kind of a rough jump here, but it took me a little bit to finally grab it. But they jump to this point in which they are both finally gone. And it was very interesting because it's, again, something that some people that aren't really familiar with this particular religion or Japanese storytelling and stuff, this is kind of a depiction of rebirth or absolute death, I think it's pretty much. It's told in different ways with different stories, but typically it is the light would be the rebirth, and the flames would be allowing yourself to die. If anybody has ever watched Death Parade, Death Parade is an interesting concept in kind of getting into that element. But this is the point which Gyataro is realizing, I made mistakes. I should have never... Daki is fine. Like, Ume is fine. She could have had a great life. She was beautiful. And she will probably be reborn as beautiful. And then she can have a normal life. Away from my mistakes. He's basically blaming himself for causing Daki to get that point. If he never taught her to collect, she would never stab that guy. She could have just been reborn at that point, but no, she became a demon because she followed me. He's regretting everything he's done to Daki. And he believes that she needs to leave him. He's like, no, you go to the light. I'm going this way. Leave me alone. We need to be separate. And that's the point which Daki says, no, we said we'd always be together. I'm not leaving you. Don't do this to me. And it just grabs onto him. And yes, the both of them go into perishing, basically, which is very, very bittersweet. Very, very bittersweet at that point. Because Gyataro believes that no matter how many times I'm reborn, I'll always be ugly. And I'll always have misfortune. But he wanted the best for his sister. He wanted his sister to be reborn because she will be beautiful. She'll probably have a great life next time. But the choice is, at that point, we'll never leave each other. And yes, bittersweet. Yeah, despite my feeling it was a little bit of a not very much hype turn of events with the last episode, it was still a really solid cleanup for everything. Really kind of, again, despite the, everything works out in the end, magical touch, everybody's cured, despite the fact that we've been pushing so heavily on everything being super dire. It was solid. I like the scene where Tanjiro stops Gyataro from saying anything. I love the backstory. I love again, it's a solid wrap-up of everything, all the events. And again, technically having Tengen break that possible pattern that the writer could have got into, which I think is awesome. But, of course, the big exciting thing about this episode is we obviously got the reveal today that they will have another season. So, which is not a big shock to me. I'm kind of in the mindset right now, this is going to keep going on because of how well it's selling. And the fact that technically the manga is already done. So it's not as if they are doing it for advertising purposes. I mean, they obviously merch and everything like that. But yeah, they've already announced another season. It's going to be season 3 of Demon Slayer. It is going to be covering the Swordsmith Village arc. So we've already got some ideas of what characters are involved with that. One specifically, Muichiro, seems like he might be a part of that. And obviously, again, that was the one that was claimed by Tengen as being a genius, somebody that was able to become a Hashira really quickly. And also Mitsuri, who is was quite special in that meeting, so that'll be interesting to run into her. But yeah, definitely excited for that. As always, they don't really have a date set yet. I'm going to assume probably 2023, probably early 2023. I don't know. I don't think that Ufotable has anything else lined up currently, but so we could possibly see a fall premiere, but we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, that's my thoughts on episode 11, the finale of the Entertainment District arc. Beyond this point, I don't know. Honestly, I think this is probably the only thing that I really have an issue with the writers. I don't really have an idea of what's to come. It really does feel like the storylines are very segmented. In the vein of a typical shonen, this idea of not really getting too many threads to have to interweave, but rather just a very consistent big fight, conclusion, cover some stuff, big fight, conclusion, cover some stuff. Not necessarily this idea of a constantly evolving story that will constantly interweave. So it's not like this aspect of, well, what's going to happen to this character? Is this character growth? What does this mean for this other character? This character's doing good. There's nothing like that. It's typically just get stronger, gather some blood, and fight and try to find Muzan. And that's really kind of what it's been playing out so far. So not that it's a bad thing. It's very simple. It's very fun. And I think it's really great that Ufotable's covering it. That way we get that really incredible animation there as well. But without things like, again, Tanjiro becoming a demon and what does that mean to the entire demon corp, stuff like that, it's never going to really have a lot of really conflicting storylines. But anyway, I'll be interested to see Michiru and Matsuri in the future. That'll be interesting to see those two characters. I'm sure, again, going forward, we're probably going to get just introducing to different characters as it goes along. The other cool thing is I think that there's, and this is soft spoilers for those that don't want to know anything about the future of the series, so you can skip forward or whatever at this point. There's apparently another, I think, 4 arcs, so it's not too much more. I mean, we could probably see this turning into probably a 5-season series, and it'd be concluded at that point. So I'll be interested to see if things start ramping up for the series, but that's my thoughts on episode 11. I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, thanks for everybody that joined me on sort of weekly basis to cover this show. I didn't cover it every single week, but it was a lot of fun. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. I do cover a lot of other shows for the series and do a lot of topic-based videos for anime and cover anime with some news bits as well. But with that said, I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to leave a comment down below and hit that like button. Support us on Patreon or through our tips link in the description below. We definitely appreciate everybody that does, and y'all take care.